Hello, once again, everyone. My name is Mark Rivetta. I'm the Education Manager and the Director of Latinx Affairs at Byte. We are so excited that so many of you could join us today. I will be leading this presentation solo. Hopefully that's not a problem. As always, if you have questions as we go through the material, feel free to send that question in a chat, and there will be points throughout the conversation for me to answer those questions. Also, I love hearing feedback. If you have answers to the questions that your fellow learners are asking, feel free to jump in, share your insight, and we'll go from there. That being said, I am going to go ahead and hit the presentation button so we can get the slides up and everyone can see what's going on. So here we are, 1 second. All right, so today's topic, protecting yourself against online threats. Very, very, very important, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do that. There's a lot of different things that you have to remember when you're protecting yourself against online threats that we're going to be discussing today, and hopefully we will be mastering today. Of these things, there's 5 specific topics, right? First, it's all about understanding and defending against computer viruses themselves. But viruses, they're wily, they are creative, they're clever, as are the hackers who use them. And so we're going to look at some different things that can be used to invade your computer, as well as ways to protect yourself from those viruses. For instance, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which I believe many of you use. Sharing personal information, we're going to talk about that. Online scams, and of course, creating and protecting passwords. Give me one moment while I let the latest person come in. And just to, and now let me go ahead and share my screen so you all see what I'm seeing. I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize I hadn't shared my screen yet. So here we are with the presentation order for today. And let's get started. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. So first, let's start with viruses, right? What are they? How do you get them? And how do you protect yourself? Very simply, a virus, it's a piece of code, computer code that can go into your computer, right? But it needs a little bit of help to get in there, right? And we'll talk about what that help that you sometimes provide a virus to get in your computer. They can affect your computer in multiple ways, lots of different things, usually bad. They can track your activity. They can control your computer sometimes, capture sensitive data that you don't want exposed to people. They can also lock you out. If the right virus can actually lock you out, and sometimes you have to pay a fee to get access back to your files, which is kind of crazy. They can also corrupt or destroy files, right? So viruses, we don't want any of them. There's no such thing that I've ever heard of as a good virus on a computer. But like I said earlier, they require to a certain degree your cooperation for them to work. A virus isn't just simply going to land on your computer. A lot of the time, it's you allowing that virus onto your computer, right? So how do you allow those viruses onto your computer? Well, for one thing, there's unsafe websites that you might visit. And there's a way to tell unsafe from safe. Usually you get a message on your computer screen, but we'll give you a little bit more detail about that in a second, how to differentiate between the two. There's also unsafe emails. I know I get a lot of emails every day, personal and in my work email. And I will sometimes just click because I want to get to those emails as quickly as possible. But we shouldn't do that. That's a bad habit. You definitely want to make sure that who is sending you the email is someone you trust, someone you know, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Clicking on unsafe links. Now, not all links are created equal. My own mom, when she's surfing the internet, she'll see something that looks interesting and she'll click on it. And usually those links are safe, but not all the time. There's quite a few links out there where it's intentional. They want you to click on it, and the moment you click on it, you get a virus, right? So we want to make sure that we know how to identify those dangerous viruses. So that being said, here's an example, right? Here's a great example right here. Typically speaking, when you're looking at an unsafe website, you see this image in the bottom right-hand corner. That will pop up most of the time when you visit an unsafe website. It will say, this site ahead contains harmful programs, or this site can't be trusted, or something along those lines. Most computer systems are set up to identify possibly risky websites, right? And that's a great thing. The computer's doing the work for you, but not all websites. In some cases, you need to be careful. So for instance, up here, the left-hand side of the screen, you see this not secure up here, right? The green screen, and it says not secure. Usually when you see not secure, it's because there is no HTTPS in that web address, right? And that could have happened for multiple reasons. But typically speaking, if there's no HTTPS, you're going to see that not secure, and you want to avoid that website also. Even if you don't get that red screen of warning, you want to avoid that website if you see a not secure, like you do up there. Other things that usually happen to you, right? So this is an example from Gmail, which I use. I know a lot of you probably use yourselves when it comes to email accounts. Gmail and a lot of email providers, they will automatically warn you if they think that something might be dangerous, right? And look at that message from Gmail. It says, this message seems dangerous. It doesn't mean that it is dangerous. It just means that it's giving you a warning. It's saying you might need to be more careful with this message. So there's something suspicious that we have flagged for you. And that's a great service from Gmail. And like I said, just about every other email provider. That being said, it's not just their job to investigate suspicious activity or suspicious messages, because you won't always get this message. There's a lot of scams out there that are very, very deceptive and can easily bypass these warnings, right? So you also have to make sure that when you get a message from an unknown sender, that you're looking at them to investigate if it's someone, something safe or unsafe. Now, how do we defend against viruses? Well, there's a couple of things we can do, right? One of those, when it comes to Mac OS, which I believe many of you have, right? You have these iPads, is to quarantine or move to trash, right? Usually when something happens with a virus or suspected virus, you can quarantine it, put it in a safe spot, or you can just delete it altogether, right? And Mac OS also, the great thing is that when you turn on updates, a lot of updates that Mac OS and other programs will send you, a lot of the computers, it have to do with viruses. They are consistently updating themselves to protect against new viruses that they see on the horizon, right? But Mac will automatically check for those updates and give you those updates if you select that option. And you can find instructions for that on the web, as we did. It's just another layer of defense. But you also want to add your own personal layer of defense, right? Mac can't do everything. PCs can't do everything. And so when I say another layer of defense, what am I referring to? I'm referring to antivirus products, antivirus software, right? So Windows Defender, if you're using a PC, right? Not a Mac computer, you're using a PC computer like a Dell or an HP, which some of you are using, they automatically come with Windows Defender. And Windows Defender is a virus protection software program, which is great. But for me, at least, I'm extra cautious. Even with my PC, and I have Windows Defender here that I'm using right now, I have an extra software program on it to protect me, right? And some of those are, some of the famous names you might recognize are like AVG, McAfee, Norton, and they give you not just paid options, but most of them have free antivirus options, right? And I'm going to check on those options momentarily, but first, I just want to see if there's anything. Great, thank you for letting us know. Just a couple messages, no questions yet. And I'm going to click out of our presentation so I can show you what I'm talking about. So here we are, and we're at AVG. So one thing I just want to point out is a lot of websites now will let you know that they use cookies. And what are cookies? Although we cover this later, I just want to say right now, cookies are for tracking purposes. So AVG, just about every website you visit nowadays, they will track your activity. They will say, oh, this person liked this, or they didn't like this, or they investigated this, right? And they use that, they gather that data so they can, ideally, they can target specific products to you. But even so, here I am with AVG, just to show an example. And most of the times, like for AVG, I'm just like, okay, you can see what I'm doing. That's fine. If you don't want it, you can click no. And on the AVG website, if we automatically, you see here, free download, right? You can download their latest version of antivirus software for Mac. Or if you have a PC, you can do the same thing. Come up here, click on the PC, and it'll give you that same option. When you go down though, remember when I said there's a free and there's paid options? It shows you a comparison here for AVG. On the one hand, you get these first 4 options for free. And then if you pay for your subscription for AVG, you get these other bonuses, right, for protection when it comes to full protection. Even so, the free product, which is what I use, is really good still. What do I want to do? I want to block those viruses, spyware, ransomware, right? Those are things I want to block, and I have it. Block the unsafe links and downloads and email attachments. There it is. Scan programs and files for threats. I've got that as well, and get automatic security updates. All those things that are really, really essential, they're there for free. So I suggest that if you do want that added layer of protection, no matter who you choose, the free option is going to do the job for you. That's my recommendation. So just a couple of key points to revisit before we move on to the next section, right? Computer viruses, what are they? They're code. They're a piece of code that can copy itself and usually is going to hurt you. But it doesn't just hurt you by itself. Computer viruses don't just happen alone, right? They are sent to you, or that you find them on the internet by accident, right? If you click on an unsafe website, or if you open a link in your email, or these other options. So you want to be careful when you're surfing the web or when you are going through email, right? Even flash drives, those little USB drives that have extra memory on them, you want to be careful with those, right? Because sometimes people will give them away, but they might have something on there already, right? And you won't know it until you plug it in. So for me, at least, whenever I get a free flash drive, which you can get at conferences or things, I want to make sure I know who's giving it to me. I just won't take it from anyone on the street handing out a free flash drive. And there are, like I said, ways to protect yourself. Having automatic updates set up on your Mac computer, on your pad, on your PC, that's a good way, but also just getting that extra layer of defense from an anti-software program like Norton or AVG or any of those major players. Any questions so far before we move on?
Okay. What are your...
Yes, I have a couple questions, please.
Oh, okay, great. We have several questions. I believe I heard first from Vera. Let me hear from Vera, and then I'll get to you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Okay, question I had was, you were saying McAfee, Norton, they have free protection that you can get from some of these companies for your PC? Or
yes, that's correct.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Any of those you're gonna have, sure. Some of them, are you saying both of these companies or most of the companies have free, so much free on it that you feel protected to a degree?
Yeah, these three, definitely. AVG, McAfee, Norton, these are some of the largest antivirus software programs out there. And they have very comprehensive free software available for you to download. Yes, so that's true.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next question. I believe, I can't remember the name. Mandy. Yes.
Yes, hi. Two quick questions. So you just showed an example of an email that said that this email may not be safe.
Yes.
Was that email actually from Gmail telling you that whole email is not safe? Was the whole email from them, or was the flag on it from Gmail, but the actual email itself was the thing that wasn't safe?
That's an excellent question. The flag is from Gmail. That red box,
that
is from Gmail. The message itself, you see that the message itself, account has been disabled, and then the email address, safety at, that's who it's from. That's the sender, right?
Okay.
And that's what it's saying. You need to be careful. We suspect this might be some sort of scam. This might be dangerous, right? And if you look at it, a lot of emails, when it is a scam, and we'll get to this in a little bit, one of the things that they try to do is they try to create a sense of urgency, because when you have a sense of urgency, you usually let your guard down. You say, oh my gosh, I need to deal with this right now. My account's been disabled. Let me go there, right? And this is kind of an example of a typical scam, right? And then they say, oh, your account's been disabled. Click on this link now, right? Like so yeah, that's kind of an easy way to spot it, but for even if a flag like this didn't pop up.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking that, which is my second question, is that I have been flooded with emails in my Outlook account that usually show up in my junk box. And it's a variety. Like I always click on the address from the sender, and it's a variety, like maybe 15 variations of addresses from Microsoft. And they're always like, you know, kind of like this: either your account's being disabled or your account has been compromised. Click yes if it's me, click no if it wasn't me that tried to access my account. It's just a variety of different ways that they word the warning, and different email addresses are they. And I've reported it to Microsoft, but get no help there. So can I assume that they're all fake?
You can and you should assume that they're all fake, especially if you're getting the same general message from different senders.
Yeah.
I don't believe Microsoft would do it that way. Microsoft would send you something, you know, and that's the thing though, right? It seems innocuous. Was this, we detected activity that, you know, you were trying to get into your account. That's a standard email that you might get from a service provider, right? But you have to also be careful, and we'll get into this later, with the spelling, because it might say Microsoft, but there might be an extra F that you don't catch because you aren't necessarily paying attention, right? There might be an extra little thing stuck in there, like a little dash, but that dash immediately nullifies the fact that it's from Microsoft. But those are just little things. So yeah, I would assume that all of those are phishing scams. Those are, you know, people just trying to get access to your internet, to your account.
Yeah, because I've set up a second layer of protection where they would text me to my phone number if there was a problem with my account. And the messages never come to the text. It's always an email to the junk box. So yeah, thank you so much.
Sure, no problem, Andy. If there are no other questions at the moment, and like I said, we do have quite a bit of material to get through, I'll continue and we'll get another chance. But if you have questions that pop up, yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is Ms. Bell. I wanted to ask one question. You said about those, they come in emails, but they come in a funny, like a language. They come like in broad, bold colors, bold letters. And like I get a lot of them from McAfee, but it's not spelling the right way.
Yeah.
Because
that could definitely be a scam.
Scam. Okay, then that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, if it's not spelled correctly.
Yes, I get a whole lot of them from misspell and everything like that in my email. So they're probably just a spam message, right?
Probably, yeah. And the other thing though is that, you know, it's especially suspicious if you don't have McAfee, right? Why would McAfee start reaching out to you randomly if you don't already have the product? Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, then thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to move on to talking about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and the reason being is that Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are great, you know, resources, but they also are vulnerabilities. Maddie, I'll get to you in a moment. Thanks for raising your hand. Just keep it raised and I'll get to you soon. And that's why we're talking about it, right? We want you to be safe when you use Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is basically your connection to the internet. It's one connection that you can have, right? It's a wireless connection specifically. You can be wired to the internet as well. And that's actually the safest option when you are home using your own internet service with a wire. That's the safest, right? Because typically speaking, no one can hack into that wire. Wi-Fi can be hacked into if you haven't taken the proper precautions. You know, people will steal Wi-Fi sometimes. They'll say, well, why should I pay for Wi-Fi when my neighbor has a Wi-Fi account and I can just go right in because they haven't protected themselves? So that's something that you need to be aware of, right? And similarly, when public networks, and we'll get to that in a moment, right? You have to be careful with Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi does require a modem to connect you to the internet and a router to connect that internet to your devices, right? So it's a bit of a two-step process. You need to first connect to the internet, and then you have to have the item, the router, which will send the internet to your multiple devices, right? When it comes to Wi-Fi, though, you can have a strong signal or you can have a weak signal, right? And that's often, I know that some persons, who've attended our classes before have said, oh, well, I keep freezing or you keep freezing. Well, there's multiple reasons that could be happening. In some cases, it's the speed of your Wi-Fi, right? Different plans cost different prices, and usually the price corresponds to the speed of your Wi-Fi. So that's important to remember. The faster the Wi-Fi, the easier it is to download, to upload, to connect, those kinds of things. The router also plays a role. So maybe you're paying for really great Wi-Fi, but you have a very cheap router that has limited capability. So that's something else that you need to remember, is that if you don't have a good router that matches what your Wi-Fi is, with the kind of Wi-Fi you're getting, you're only going to get as fast as that router will move. So let's say you're paying for 250 megabytes of Wi-Fi, but you have a router that can only give you 50, you're only going to get 50. Okay, so that's something to also be aware of when it comes to Wi-Fi. And then there's distance from a Wi-Fi source, right? So if you have your Wi-Fi, if you have your router set up, let's say on one end of your home, and you have your computer set up on the complete other end of your home, sometimes you'll still be able to get good connectivity. Sometimes you won't. It just depends, right? So you have to be aware where you are in terms of where your Wi-Fi source is when you are connecting to the internet if you want to get good connectivity. What else should you know about Wi-Fi? And Maddie, before I get to Bluetooth, I'll make sure to answer your question. Well, there's different types of Wi-Fi, right? And I already mentioned one, the private Wi-Fi connections that have passwords. And typically speaking, a Wi-Fi connection that you set up will have a password to begin with. It may or may not be a strong password. And we'll talk about the strength of password later, right? So sometimes you want to recreate those passwords. You also the public Wi-Fi connections. Let's say you go to a Starbucks, you go to the library. Those are public Wi-Fi connections. Some of them have passwords, some of them don't. You can just go right in, right? But we need to be careful. Like I said, public Wi-Fi connections are vulnerable. Multiple people can be on there. Not all of them are trustworthy. How to connect to Wi-Fi? For those of you who received the iPad as part of this program and still have that iPad, if you're on there right now, you can connect by clicking on your settings and then going to tapping on the network setting, right? And that's pretty standard. It's similar to how you might connect to Wi-Fi on your smartphone if you have a smartphone. Also PCs, usually you go to the settings option and you'll be able to connect to Wi-Fi that way. Maddie, what is your question? Oh, you're muted, Maddie. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was reading it as you were going along, and it said Bluetooth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was misspelled. Bluetooth. I read it again. It was misspelled. Were you testing us, or was that?
I was not testing you, but I'm gonna say that I was testing you now. Did I? Bluetooth. Oh man. Oh, Maddie. Oh, you put me to shame today. It's okay. It's okay.
Trying to do that.
No, I know. No, I know. I'm just teasing. I'll make sure to correct that for the next time. But what's your question?
I have a friend, like they want us to pay bills and everything online, and right before his eyes, he lost $5,000 out of his bank account.
Oh goodness.
So you off one little something a day. If something's off, or you don't pay attention and one little thing is different, you can lose your money.
Yes, it depends. It depends. So I wanna have a big asterisk there, right? And I want to make this very clear. A lot of service providers, whether it be phone providers, internet providers, which in some cases are the same service provider, banks, retailers like Walmart or Target or Amazon, a lot of them they're very secure. They are very secure. Their end is very secure. And so to pay a bill is typically, I don't think twice about it, right? But I also don't think twice about it because I'm protected in other ways. Walmart and Amazon and those service providers, they are doing what they need to keep your information protected, right? Meanwhile, what are you doing to keep your information protected, right? It's not good enough if only one of them is secure. You also need to be secure, right? And so that might be the issue that happened that befell your friend, that maybe on their end, they either already had a virus, someone was already tracking their data, someone had already breached their security systems, right? So yeah, so that's something to be aware of. I don't think it's dangerous to shop. I don't think it's dangerous to online bank. I don't think it's dangerous to do any of those things, but I don't think it's dangerous not only because they have great protection, but I also have made sure that I have great protection too. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Sure. Queen, you have a question as well.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. The question I have a lot of times from this senior, so I make phone calls out. Do you have to have Comcast in your home to connect with the iPad? And I always tell them no, because it's in the iPad itself. So
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, and I just want to clarify, right? Wi-Fi, so Comcast is just one of many different Wi-Fi providers, right? Internet providers, right? Wi-Fi can be provided by Comcast, it can be provided by AT&T, it can be provided by T-Mobile, it can be provided by a number of service providers, right? Who is providing it depends on where you go, right? So maybe the Starbucks, they are paying Comcast to provide their Wi-Fi, but they've made it a public Wi-Fi network, right? So because it's public, like I said, there's more risk involved, right? It doesn't mean that you are automatically going to have your information hacked if you hop on a public Wi-Fi network, but at the same time, you don't want to be doing anything sensitive on a public Wi-Fi network. I would never online shop on a public Wi-Fi network. I would never access my bank records on a public Wi-Fi network. I would only do that on a private network, my own or a friend's, but never on a public one. So that's something that we also talk about later. But thank you for making that point, Queen. I'm going to go on just a little bit longer, and then we'll get to you in a little bit, Mandy. I just want to make sure that we get through some of the other information. So to check for Wi-Fi, at least on the pad, you can check in the upper left-hand corner. For other machines like me on my PC right now, I'm going to go down below and see if I trigger that. Typically speaking, in the lower right-hand corner is where the Wi-Fi signal will pop up for a PC. The number of bars that you see corresponds to the strength of your activity. So you only have one bar, that means you don't have a very strong strength. But if you have 3, 4 bars, you're doing pretty well. And to see what Wi-Fi's are available, you just need to click on the Wi-Fi symbol. So I'm going to go and I'm going to show you that. So here in the lower right-hand screen, let's see, my Wi-Fi is not popping up at the moment. Oh yes, well, let's see if I can get there too from here. Give me 1 second. Here we go. That's on my airplane mode, right? So I go up here and immediately you see multiple Wi-Fi providers. So here's my little Wi-Fi connectivity button, and I'm on this Wi-Fi network, and then there are these other Wi-Fi networks. I don't know who they are. I don't have those passwords. I'm not going to hop on them, but I know this one. That's why I'm here. But I'm just saying that's how you do it. You can see and check for different Wi-Fi networks and where you want to join. How do you reset your Wi-Fi connections? Let's say something's going on that's wrong. It's not just really working very well. The easiest thing you can do to reset your Wi-Fi connection is to unplug your router, right? And then unplug the modem, and then leave them unplugged for about 30 seconds. Right? You want to do it in that order too. I don't remember the specific reason, but that's what I've been told by the experts. Unplug the router, unplug your modem, leave them unplugged for 30 seconds, and then that should refresh things for you.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
The router, which one is the router? Okay.
So the
tall? Okay, one is the modem and one is the router.
Yes.
Okay. Is the router the one that have all these plugs in the back of it, tall vertical one? Is that the router or the modem?
It depends. And the reason I say it depends is because these items have different shapes.
Oh.
so I believe the one you're describing to me right now is actually your router, but I don't know. I wouldn't know unless I could actually see the items, right? So okay. The router, just to clarify, remember, the modem is what's needed to connect to the internet. The router is what's needed to send that internet service to your devices. Okay. But as far as what they look like, it depends. So I'm sorry about that.
Okay, and so you disconnect the router first or the modem?
Unplug the router, right? Unplug what's sending the signal, and then unplug the modem, which is connected to the internet.
Router, and then the modem. Okay, yeah. Router and modem. Okay, thank you.
Sure. And that's just if your internet is, usually people reset their internet like that, their Wi-Fi connections when they're moving very slow or you're having trouble connecting. Anything else to know about Wi-Fi? Absolutely. Security tips. If you don't have a password on your modem, create one immediately and make sure it's a very good password, right? If you don't allow your device to be discovered by other devices. At least that's my rule of thumb. And a lot of my friends do that as well, right? You have that option to say, oh, let it be discoverable, but it doesn't need to be discoverable unless you want it to be discovered by maybe friends or family who are with you. You don't need to make it public to everyone who just walks by, right? Don't remember infrequently use Wi-Fi connections, because you can say, oh, I want to remember this connection. I want to remember that connection. I remember ones from friends and family members. I don't remember a random Starbucks I was in and their Wi-Fi connection. You don't need to. You just want to forget it, get it out of your system. Kind of like brushing your teeth. Clean that information on your phone or your pad or your computer.
And is that part of the setting?
It will ask you. Usually your system, when you connect to a Wi-Fi network, it will say, do you want to remember this network? And you have that option, yes or no. And I almost always will choose no.
Okay.
Yeah, and technically speaking, if you say yes and want to delete it later, you can go into your computer and find a place to delete it. That's fine, but it takes a couple extra steps, and I just don't have the time to show that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. One more thing is that when you use Wi-Fi connections, and I said this once, but I can't stress it enough, don't access your sensitive data. Don't do online banking when you're on a public Wi-Fi connection, when you're at the library or when you're at a Starbucks, for instance, right? Because it's easier to access your device through a public network than through a private network. Okay. And oftentimes persons, who are using computers, if they want to slide in a virus onto a computer, it's not that difficult, right? Now, libraries have gotten a lot better about security, which is great. They have a lot more software, antivirus software. So if someone does try to do that, they're most likely going to catch it. Even so, you just want to be, better safe than sorry. We have quite a few questions, so let me see if I can get to them. Is AVG or Norton compatible with iPads? Mandy, yes, it is. Great question. Thank you. They have options for PCs and iPads. Georgia, let's see what's your question. And I believe you're muted still. Georgia, we can't hear you. Georgia, you're muted.
Now, do you have to create a modern password on your Hi-Fi, or what's on there already is
if it comes, it depends on what your preference is, because a lot of the modems now that you buy, they have an automatic, it has a password for you, and it's usually a complicated password. It's like capital Y, lowercase s, 127, exclamation point, 35, like they're just throwing lots of things out there. So it's going to be very, very difficult for somebody to guess and access. So that's the kind of password that you're talking about. By all means, keep it. If you inherited a modem, as some friends have done, if someone says, oh, here's a modem, it's ready to go, but there's no password, get that password on there.
Well, on our iPad, we don't really have a modem on it, do we?
Oh, well, it's not so the modem, remember, the modem is what's used to send that internet signal to your iPad. Right? So you should, so the modem itself should have a password. Your iPad should have a password. Your email account has a password. All these different things have passwords, right? They're just all added layers of protection.
So we don't have to worry about that.
Well, no. And I don't want to confuse you now. So when you open your iPad, I'm trying to think, when you open your iPad, imagine you're opening your iPad. It's like opening your front door, right? You're like opening your front door, right? So if someone, well, let me put it differently. It's like opening your bedroom door, your bedroom door's open. Great. But no one's going to get into your bedroom door unless they're in your home already, right? Only people who are going to get into your bedroom door are the ones who are in your home. But if you don't have a password on your modem, that's like having your house door, your home door unlocked. If you don't have a password on that modem, which is the internet signal, the thing that sends the internet to your device, well, then someone could walk through your front door and find your bedroom and get whatever's in the bedroom. So that's why you need that password on the modem. Having a password on your iPad, that's fine. But if you're connected to the internet, you want to make sure that connection is secure.
Okay.
So that's like they have the key to your house.
Kind of, yeah. It's like having the key to your house if you don't have a password on the modem. It's kind of, I mean, or it's like your house doesn't have a key to begin with.
Okay.
Let's move on just a little bit, and then I'm going to get to you, Queen. I'm sorry about that.
I was trying to lower my hand. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I can lower it for you. It's all good.
Thank you.
Sure. So Bluetooth. Bluetooth is another way of connecting, right? And specifically, it's wireless technology where you can exchange data between different devices, right? So, you know, I have an ear pod and I use those ear pods and they talk to my smartphone, or they might talk to my computer, right? Or even my phone. So generally speaking, Bluetooth devices, they are secure due to something called frequency hopping. That's how they communicate. And they're more difficult to hack for that reason, right? I'm not going to go into the intricacies of frequency hopping, which I vaguely understand, but it's science. But no, it's how the Bluetooth operate, right? They use wavelengths to transmit that information, right? And usually Bluetooth, the capability, the range of Bluetooth is actually shorter than Wi-Fi. The Bluetooth usually only lasts up to 30 feet. As far as protecting yourself with Bluetooth, they're complementary. They're complementary services. They help you accomplish things. And Bluetooth, though, the thing is about Bluetooth is that that's usually how you communicate. Like you can send pictures to some folks, right? You can, like Apple allows you to drop pictures. It's usually using Bluetooth to drop those pictures. And you can share other information using Bluetooth as well. The thing about Bluetooth, though, is that you don't necessarily, you know, people, if your device is discoverable, and this kind of goes back to the idea of having your device listed as discoverable. If your device is discoverable, let's say you're in the metro and you're on your smartphone and it's discoverable, if someone finds your phone, they can send you something via Bluetooth. They can send you a message or they can send you pictures via Bluetooth if they know you're there, right? But you might not know who they are. It could be anyone on that metro who suddenly send you these pictures. You're like, well, what are these pictures? I don't know what they are. You don't want to accept them. You don't want to accept them. You don't want to accept anything from anyone who's a stranger, okay? And this is kind of a rule of thumb here when it comes to security on Bluetooth, right? Only turn on your Bluetooth when you're ready to pair a device, right? Don't just have your Bluetooth on all the time. For one thing, having Bluetooth on drains more battery. So it's also an energy saver. But having it on, you know, also makes you usually discoverable to other persons. So only use it when you're ready to pair it with a device. Only use it to send and accept data, like I said, from trusted sources. So, you know, with my wife, for instance, she says, oh, here's a picture of our boy I want to share with you. And she sends me an image. I say, yes, I accept. I know it's coming from her. But if it's somebody, I suddenly get an invitation to accept something on Bluetooth, I say no. I don't trust it. It's relatively safe, but you should still be cautious, like with anything when it comes to technology. Still be cautious. And this activity is schedule automatic downloads. I just wanted to show it for those of you who do have an iPad. This is how you would go about it, right? Going into the settings app, the iTunes and App Store, automatic download section. So yeah, I'll just leave this up here while I answer Vera's question. Vera.
Yes. In other words, you would have to have your Bluetooth on if you have, say, if you take pictures and you have an iPhone and a pad, that Bluetooth had to be on in order for them pictures that you took with one of the devices to go to the other device?
Yeah, that's one way of sending them. Yes, absolutely. So you could text those pictures, right? Which takes a little longer. You could send those text messages. You could send through a text message, or you could send it through Bluetooth. You could use the Bluetooth to drop it into the other device. Yes.
Okay. Well, why wouldn't it just automatically go to the other device if they're synced together, put together, whatever you call it?
I don't. So I'm going to be very honest. When it comes to Apple devices, I know some Apple devices, the way that Apple works, the whole beauty of Apple is that the devices are integrated, right? They're supposed to seamlessly communicate with one another. But I don't know if, I don't think it's possible, but maybe I'm wrong here. I don't think if I were to take a picture on my iPhone and it's saved on my iPhone, unless I have set up something, it's not going to automatically go to the iPad. Or it's not going to automatically go to my smart book, right? Unless you have that set up. I don't know if that's an option. Knowing Apple, it probably is an option. If anyone knows about this, please feel free to speak up. But generally speaking, that's at least, when I want to put stuff from one place to another, especially pictures, I'll usually Bluetooth drop it.
On the Bluetooth. Okay. I went to, and this is another thing. I had some pictures printed a couple of days ago at CVS, and they said I had to go on to their Wi-Fi in order to download the pictures. It didn't used to be that way, but I had to go on their Wi-Fi to be able to download the pictures to their printer in order to print the pictures off.
Interesting. I don't know about that. I mean, if CVS is asking you to do that, to print those pictures, I imagine they are taking certain precautions to make sure that internet connection is safe, that it's password protected. But I don't know. I don't know if they've done the due diligence. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, but I understand your concern, and rightfully so. I wouldn't want to risk having my phone, invaded because I was doing something that I thought was safe. So no, I get that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So
one quick question about Bluetooth real quick.
Yes.
So I have my keyboard paired with my iPad, and I have Bluetooth turned on, but if I turn off my iPad when I'm not using it, even though when I logged off, Bluetooth was on, it's not vulnerable, right? Because the iPad is actually turned off.
Yeah. So like I said, typically speaking, with Bluetooth, right? You have to accept. If someone wants to send you something, you still have to accept it. Okay. Right. With a Wi-Fi connection, remember, going through the modem, that's why it's important. The modem is that connection to the internet. It's sending the internet to your devices. If I can bypass the modem, if I can get on your network, I can go to your devices, right? I can walk through your front door, right? And then I can go to your bedroom, the smartphone. I can go to your laptop, the living room. I can go where I want to if I gain that access into your modem. Now most people, and this is important, most people aren't that talented enough to actually access information on your devices. Most people who will go and use your Wi-Fi, they're only using your Wi-Fi for the Wi-Fi. Just truth be told, they just want free Wi-Fi. But there are those people who can use it to do more things. And then that you have to be careful about.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So just a couple key points before I move on. Wi-Fi at home is safer. That's the safest option that you're going to have, right? Because you have control over it. You get to see how it's protected, right? So that's something to be aware of. Security risks can be mitigated by downloading updates automatically to your operating system, by having added protection in there, different software programs. And Bluetooth sharing, like I said, requires permission. So only give it to trusted choices to protect yourself. I think we've answered just most of the questions that have come up so far. Edward suggested that when going to CVS to get your photos printed, move your photo to a thumb drive. If the CVS has that option, that's actually not a bad idea, Edward. Even so, don't forget, thumb drives can be hacked. And so you want to make sure that your thumb drive is clean. Next time you plug in your thumb drive into your computer at home or another system, run a scan on it. You can scan thumb drives just like you can scan a computer, just like you can scan just about any device to see if it's been infected. So thanks for bringing that suggestion up, Edward. So sharing personal information, and wow, time is flying. It's already 1:50. So we may have to, revisit this at our next call. Even so, let's try to get through this as much as possible when it comes to personal information, right? So we want to talk about personal information, misuse of personal information, and how to protect yourself again, and identifying a secure website. Well, let's see. So let's just jump right into it. Personal information, right? What is personal information? All these things are examples of personal information, right? All these things are identifiers. Say something about you. Let people know who you are, right? And the fact is that most institutions use these to identify you, use these to confirm who you are. So you don't want to let this information out. Your first and last name, well, that's a bit difficult. If you have a very common name, well, there could be lots of Mark Riveras out there. When everyone was logging in, there was 5 Mark Riveras just on this call. Now, those aren't actually your names. I know that. I'm just saying there are other Mark Riveras out there, right? But then your birthday, well, your birthday can be used to narrow it down. Social security number, that's an instant marker, right? That's unique to you. And that's if your social security number gets exposed, well, that can be risky. That means that other people can use that to access possibly bank accounts, purchases, things of that nature, right? So we want to make sure that our personal information is being protected. Personal information is used in a lot of different ways, right? And these are just some examples. Social media, we all have our social media accounts. Now, some people don't use their real names on social media accounts as another layer of protection, but if you do, I wouldn't worry about it, right? Patient portals, well, that's a little bit more sensitive, right? You want to keep your medical information secure. Online banking, website apps, where you can go shopping. Personal information is used at all of these, right? And like I said before, on the one hand, these sites, particularly the ones that are doing financial transactions, they have a lot of encryption. They are very safe, right? So you shouldn't feel bad about using them. A lot of it, though, has to do with our responsibility, with what we've done to protect ourselves on our end, right? So what are the risks? Well, identity theft. This has happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to other persons on this call right now. If someone gets a hold of your social security number, or in some cases other information, they can use that to open accounts in your name. They can use that to say, hey, I'm Mark Rivera, give me a credit card. Oh, you sent me the credit card, and now I'm just going to rack it up, max it out, and you don't know who I actually am, right? So that's credit card fraud right there. Burglary. One thing that some people can do, if they know your address and they know that you're not there, because sometimes people will say, oh, hey, gonna go on vacation this week. Oh, so ready to get out of the office, escape the city. But they know your address. Well, you're basically advertising that no one's home. You're telling people that, yeah, please have at it. Come through my front door, right? Hacking with personal information. Hackers can. I've also had my Facebook account hacked as well, as have some of my friends, right? They get into social media and they say, hey, bestie, can you lend me $10? Yeah, just send it to this location. And like, what? And then you have to like, oh no, that wasn't me. That someone had hacked into my account, right? Things of that nature. Tarnished reputation, and this does happen. This can be tarnished reputation in the sense of your credit history, tarnished reputation in the sense of people thinking that lesser of you. Sometimes personal information also includes things that you didn't want to be in the public's view. It's private, right? It's who you are, it's what you do on your own time, but then somebody leaks that information because you got hacked. So you got to be really, really careful with this stuff. How do you protect yourself? Well, be aware, be prepared, right? My dad used to say this to me all the time when I was growing up, right? Stay alert, stay alive, be vigilant about what you're doing online and how you're protecting yourself. Those are the ways that you stay protected. So social media, it's always good to just set your account to private, right? Only interact with the people that you already know on social media. Only accept requests from people you know, family and friends, right? Don't, as I pointed out, post your current location or plans to leave town. You're just kind of advertising for people at that point. Don't post personal information, your address, your phone number, of course not your social security number, but you'd be surprised, you know, the amount of information we do inadvertently post about ourselves. So just be careful there. And you can share your hobbies, you can share the things you love, you know, but just make sure that you're sharing with people that you trust when you're sharing. Websites, it's a similar approach, right? Make sure that in the upper left-hand corner where you see that web address begin, that there's a locked lock. That shows you that it's a secure website, right? Don't share your private information on any websites that aren't secure. If you don't see that lock, don't share your information there. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be protected. If a website doesn't have that lock symbol or the link is spelled incorrectly, don't trust it, right? And finally, when a website is correct, you should be able to proceed and share that information that you need to share without, you know, without risk, ideally. And this is what I'm referring to. There's that lock right there. You see the HTTPS and there's that lock come out right up. That's what you're looking for. Not the green color, but at least the lock. That's what you want to see when you're on the web. And here's a good comparison between the two. Here's that HTTPS, and now we have the lock. Here's the HTTP, no lock, right? So, or not, or in this case, it's an exclamation point. So we really don't want to be sharing personal information. Doesn't mean that if you're on that website, suddenly you're hacked. That is not what it means. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily at an elevated risk. It just means that information shared on that website may not be secure. So better, you know, it's best to avoid doing it. Apps, downloading them is typically a safe thing to do. Whether you're doing it on a public or a private network, as long as you don't pay for that app. You know, if it's a free app, definitely. If you want to download it on a public Wi-Fi network, that's okay too. If you don't want your location shared using the app, you can opt out. You can say no, never. Or some apps, you know, for instance, I like to say only share my location when I'm using the app, especially if it's a map app. If you don't want to use your camera or photo or microphone, you can also opt out of these options. So a lot of apps will say, do you want to do this? Do you want to get push messages? Do you want to get notifications? So you can opt in or opt out to these options when you're downloading an app. I see a question from someone with my name.
Well, it should be Carla. I don't know why it says your name, but
it's okay. It's okay, Carla. What is your question?
Well, I guess my question, it was actually, you may have already covered it, and that was, does Byte still have some physical locations where we can go and get in-person assistance?
We do have physical locations. So our main headquarters, of course, is still 899 North Capitol Street. We are on the 8th floor. That's the same building where the Department of Safety, or excuse me, Department of Health for DC is. The issue, though, is that we don't have persons ready to assist with technical questions at will, like we used to, particularly because of COVID precautions. We have a skeleton crew at any given moment, you know, so we're open, but we don't really allow anyone to just come in like we used to, you know, use our computer resources or lab, ask questions. So unfortunately, that's no longer an option.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So it is 1 o'clock, and so we still have quite a bit of material to get through. I'm just gonna, you know, break the news right now. We're not gonna get through it. You know, that's okay. But I will, you know, continue to ask questions or answer questions as they come up. So just please let me know if you have a question. Raise your hand, or feel free to ask that question in the chat, and I'll respond. Emails, and we talked about emails at the very beginning of this presentation, right? We want to be careful about those emails that we don't recognize. You know, even if they look like they might be from something we do recognize, like Outlook. One of our attendees today was saying, oh, I got several dozen, however many emails from Outlook. They're all a little different, and they're telling me that something's wrong, right? That's probably a sign that none of them are real, right? That you're getting all these different emails from different Outlook sources. It's going to be coming from the same Outlook source. Do not email private information to email addresses that you're unfamiliar with. So for instance, private information can be not just a name or a location, it can also be a password. I'll be honest, it's not best practice, but I have shared a password with a family member via email, but I trusted them and I trusted the you know, that it was a secure connection, right? I probably shouldn't have done that, but I'm just saying, if you have to do that, make sure that you're sending it to just a trusted source. So a couple of do's and don'ts. Go ahead, post those funny videos, photos, recipes, anything you want to post on social media accounts. Don't post other details that can be used against you, that can be used to exploit you, that can be used to break into your home or your bank accounts. None of those personal details, right? Do enter your address, credit card information, phone number, anything that you need to make a purchase or that you need to complete a transaction. Maybe you're, you know, whether it's your CVS scheduling that, you know, medicine pickup, or you're buying that birthday gift on Amazon. Go ahead. It's okay, right? Don't feel bad about it. But don't enter information like that if you're on a website that isn't secure. Absolutely not, right? If it's a trusted vendor, you're going to be okay. But if it's something that's uncertain, better not take that risk. So a couple of true or false pieces. My information on social media is much safer if I set my account to private. That's true, right? You should be setting your account to private. If I'm being prompted to enter my social security number on a health website, but I do not see a lock symbol showing that website is secure, I still feel safe. It's still safe to proceed. No, even if it's on a health website, even if it's something that you're like, oh, well, I was told to go here. In some cases, and this is true, in some cases, if you enter something incorrectly, it could take you to another website and you think you're on the correct website, but you're not. Look for that lock symbol. Look for that lock symbol. Double check what you put in there. We were going to opt out of location sharing. That's okay. I think we can do that another time because I want to take at least these last 10 minutes or so that we have for questions. Key points, let me just get those in. Personal information is information that's tied to your identity. Name, address, social security, you know, those kinds of things. But protect yourself, just as we've discussed. Stay vigilant, stay careful, check everything. That being said, questions about this or other things that have come up before we get to online scams? Any questions? Anything in the chat?
Are risk on putting information in phones any greater or not than putting it in on iPads or laptops?
That's an excellent question. So any device, computer, iPad, phone, can be compromised, right? Any device can be compromised. It depends what you're doing on it, where you're doing it, right? So, you know, I said private connections are the safest option, right? When connecting to the internet. That's true. But if I'm clicking on an unsafe link or visiting an unsafe website, even on my private connection, then I'm being unsafe, right? I could have done all the things I'm supposed to do, but if I'm being unsafe, then I'm unsafe, right? And so when you say, oh, well, is a phone safer than an iPad, safer than a computer, they're all only as safe as you are. And that's a critical thing to remember. Because if you're using a public connection versus a private connection, that there's a little bit more risk there. If you are visiting an unsafe website, if you are putting information online, it doesn't matter how I put the information online, if it's through my smartphone or through my laptop or through my desktop, it's still out there for people to use, right? So really, it's all a matter of how you're using that device. Make sense?
Yes, but one other question I had though is, my internet, whatever, is files.
Okay.
And earlier during the session, you were talking about the need for your carrier to have their security and then you to have your security. And when I talked with the FiOS technician, they told me that I didn't need to have McAfee's or something like that because of the security they had.
Gotcha.
But you're suggesting that maybe I should go back and extend my McAfee coverage?
Yeah, free coverage. Sure, I'm not suggesting
McAfee wasn't free.
Well, McAfee has a free option as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
McAfee,
okay.
AVG, Norton, they all have free options.
Okay.
They will bombard you with emails saying, "Hey, you should really upgrade. You should upgrade to a paid subscription. You should do this. You should do that." Sure, they'll upsell you. All companies try to upsell, but there's a free option there too. I don't know. Truth be told, I don't have FiOS. I've never spoken to a FiOS technician. I don't know what kind of protection they have. But even so, for my peace of mind, even if they said that, I would say, well, I'm still going to take this added precaution, because at the end of the day, what does it hurt you? Especially as long as you're getting the free one. If you're getting the free one, what does it hurt? Why not have that added protection there?
Okay. And should it be on all of the different devices? Like, I have 3 young people here, each of which they each have their own phones and their own laptops and iPads and Chromebooks and whatever. So I guess I need to get one package that would cover up to 8 or 10 devices or something like that.
Well, you don't have to necessarily get one package that will cover that many devices. I know some of them work like that. One thing you could do, especially, and this is just a little hack here to keep things cheap. You could get AVG for one device, and then for the free one, and then you could get free Norton for another device, and then you could get the free McAfee for another device, right? Instead of saying, because sometimes I think that they say, oh, well, you want to use it, you want this product for multiple devices, you're going to have to pay for that. Well, you don't have to pay for that. Just get a different service. They're all doing the same thing for the most part, right? So yeah, but that would be my recommendation, because it's not so much, of course, there's the password on the modem itself, and there's passwords on the devices, but once those devices are open and you're using them, where you go determines how risky you are, or how at risk you are. What you do, what you click on, what you download, you never can tell.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Other questions before we talk about online scams? I see someone talking. I think Vera's trying to talk, but she's muted. You're still muted, Vera. Are you talking to us? Oh, great question from Karen. VPN. How do you get a free VPN for your phone? So VPN, I don't know if anyone knows what VPNs are. It's just another level of defense. And I'm looking up VPN because I actually don't remember what it stands for. So VPN, free. So you can get a VPN on Google Fi, best free VPNs. So to answer that question, what is a VPN? What does it do? Where is a VPN? The main purpose of a VPN is to hide your online activity, right? VPNs are often used to guard against hackers and snoops on public networks, but they're also useful for hiding your IP address. So just to clarify, we don't talk about this because this is next level stuff, but since it's been asked, every device has a IP address. Every device has an IP address that basically identifies that device. Doesn't necessarily identify you, but it identifies that device, right? So some people, they really are very protective of that information. They're like, I don't want Delta to know that I was looking at plane tickets. I don't want Amazon to know that I was looking at wool socks. They don't need to know that information. So you can use a VPN basically to mask your IP address, your identity, your digital identity, that is. And it also makes things a little more difficult if someone is trying to hack you. It's not, just to be clear, it's unnecessary compared to, I don't want to say it's unnecessary. It's not as important as just getting those first frontline defenses like antivirus software. But if you really want to maintain your anonymity online, that's more what it's for.
So does that mean you would need that on your phone as well?
If you wanted to make sure that people weren't tracking your digital phone identity, your smartphone identity, yes, you would want that. And there are apps, there are VPN apps that you can download so that every time you go online using your smartphone, it will mask your IP address. Same thing for your computer. There are apps, there are software programs you can download. Some are paid, some are free. I don't know which is which. I don't know who's good, who's not. I can't recommend one personally because I don't use a VPN. So
okay,
I can't advise there. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
But now you know what they are and what they do.
Yeah, that at least explains why if I order something, I turn around and get an ad for that same item.
Exactly. So what it's also how you know, a common strategy for, you know, when I said Delta for airlines, if you look at a flight to, let's say you're flying DC to New York and you say, okay, how much does that cost? And the ticket's $300. And then you look at it 20 minutes later and it says the ticket's $310. You're like, wait, what happened? Are the tickets selling out? No, it's just that they know you've returned. They know that you're interested, right? And so a VPN can help mask that identity. So they don't, so they know it's you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Another question. Oh, okay. We got Karen's question's been answered. Great. Any other questions? We have now 2 more minutes. I don't have time to start online scams. I'm sorry about that. We can do that next meeting. We will do online scams. We'll do everything we didn't get to. We'll do, you know, a couple other things, right? But is there anything else you'd like to talk or ask about before we break? Going once. Going twice. All right. Well, it was great seeing everyone today. As always, I really enjoyed our time together. I enjoyed the many great questions that you always ask. I want everyone to, you know, stay safe. It's not too cold right now, fortunately, but, you know, just be good and take care. And I look forward to seeing everyone, as many of you, hopefully all of you again next month for our next meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Really appreciate you.
You're welcome. We appreciate you as well.